Shei Halaylo. We're on this DRUSHOT says on page Kuf Nun. B'chatzos halaylo chozrim hamochin lezer anpin v'na'aseh zivug. That's the big chiddush here at midnight. What happens then? Then we come over to we're going to go down to the bottom. It's just a short little basic shefa there. Number Yud Ches at the bottom of this page. One more second. Let me see if I get better focus here. V'zera v'cha yinin nimshach ad chatzos laila. V'az kvar nivnes hanukvel minisakna. So it continues on, he says, until kvar nivnes hanukvel is already built. V'az chozer on the mochin, the makom and the mochin that go back after the building of the mochin. B'reisha dezer anpen b'chatzos halayla u'mizdavik b'nukva. What kind of yichud do we have here? So he says the Nesira, now understand, is with Leah. Then after that, when you get to midnight time, zivug de Yaakov Leah, that zivug is going to take place lamala. Yu'un b'miluyin, so he gets into that be'eza partsufi myre, which persufim we're talking about. That was in the back. We kind of went through that. However, let's go over here to the next part. So now he says, Inin hakima b'chatzos halayla la'asok b'torah u'b'sishbachos. So I'm going to read this. Let me see. We can read in the light print, and we're going to go into the very important to me is going to be the shefa over here. One second. And he says like this, he says number Kaf Aleph, he says, so there's a chiyuv to do this, he says. In order to show us the inyan of the chazaras ha-mochin b'reisha dezer anpin, because this is the time the mochin come back into the reisha dezer anpin, lehizdave b'nukah k'moshe yizbar in yonam, as we explain this. So he says, V'habein heitiv inyan kimis chatzos laila, so understand this really well. So chatzos laila akum lahodos loch, that's a quote. The grom zivug elyon, and as a result of that, to cause an upper zivug. Al pi zecher yivur sod chiyu v'kima b'chatzos laila, shenisbar b'zoher b'harbe b'komos. Dehine inyan nakima mora al chazaras hamochim, because it really is teaching us about bringing the mochin coming back. The masha ha'adam yashan hu machbash nistalik b'meno kiyuso, which is what the mochin shalo. The inyan nakima mahashena, but then when you wake up from that sleep, mora al chazaras hamochim, it teaches you that now the mochin are coming back again. Since the lower man, that's us, is similar to Zer Anpin, and we're part of the template of Zer Anpin. You got to get up. There's a chiyuv, he says, to get up at midnight. So the same thing is happening as a parallel. As you do this, Zer Anpin at this time is also waking up as the mochin return to him. And now they came back. So this is what's going on, and that's why you need that chiyuv. That's the depth of this. So, so we're going to go down now to number Yud Tes. Yud Tes, we didn't do. Oh, the Yud Tes really went on the. Okay, so Yud Tes is fine. So he says, so this is the secret, chiyuv ha'adan l'kum b'chatzos halayla. So the shefa writes like this, Nira b'mashmosas divrei harav, the lefi seder ha'tikunim manas and lamala. So according to the fact that the tikkunim are taking place at this time, and you're waking yourself up, just like Zer Anpin is arousing himself. Yesh inyan b'davka lishon kodem chatzos, but there's also an inyan over here whether you have to specifically go to sleep at the normal sometime before chatzos, which is the time of the in the sira, and the time, I guess it goes with the time of the dormita and the sira. Dugmas inyan dormita or dormita on the asach bezer anpin, similar to that. And this seems to be the seder. Then, so after that you go to sleep just like Zer Anpin is sleeping, and then you get up. Kedugmas chazaras amochin is Zer Anpin. So this issue is that you're doing the same. You're repeating what's going on with Zer Anpin. So Amnam Yedua. So he said Divrei Shalom Shaila Memtes. The Rebbeinu of Rishash Zira B'Docha B'Choy Yacholot Lishan Kodem Chatzos. He didn't do that. Instead, he stayed up. V'zos machmish shahoyu yared l'nafsho, that he was worried about himself. Shem lo yakum b'chatzos. Maybe he wouldn't get up in a chatzos. That's always chatzos is pretty much a precise time. I'm always thinking about the Rebbe Nachman says that you could be 2 hours before, 2 hours afterwards. It's still considered to be, that period of time is still considered to be chatzos. So therefore, if it's hard for you to get up at midnight, that you could do the same thing, to remain awake at chatzos. That's another possibility. Will also say to Tikkun Chatzot, do the Tikkun Chatzot, v'la'achem mekan yishkav lishon, then you should go back, lay down, and go to sleep again. So the Kvar calls of a Rishash, because the Rishash wrote in Nar Shalom, the Ha'ikr hu sheb'nekudas Chatzos. The main thing is that when you're going through that particular, he said nekudas Chatzos, mamish yihi neir. So he wants to say that this. This is what he wants to say. Let me repeat it again. He said that the main thing, the ikar, is sheb'nekudas hatzos. When you hit that mark of hatzos, mamish, yihi neir, you'll be awake at that time. B'bein shekavara v'kam b'shinazo, whether you already woke up from your sleep. Bein shadayim lo shakav, even whether or not you didn't sleep at all. V'ayin od mashakasamda the command b'shefa kavanos os pei gimel. There's going to be more. Let's go to the next piece. I got my little morning allergy here. 1 second. Okay, the next one says, Hamochim. Let me get back to it. There we go. Little brackets in the brackets at the top of this blurb. It says, Hamochim Hamastalkim Bezer Anpin Olin Laman. So what happens, the Mochin leaves their Anpin, they go up into Man, and he's going to touch this, I think, if we get to it, to something we learned earlier. Hine Kavanas Hashena, so I guess we'll go at the bottom. We'll go at the bottom, it's okay. We'll go to number Kaf Bet at the bottom. Hine Kavanos Hashena, Ba'atzma, the Kavana and Sheen itself, Ha'inyin hu lamala lamala, the Inyan above, the Inyan hadormita b'tardema shows their anpin. It's matching or parallels the tardema. He has these two words, and we discussed it yesterday. Darmita, I believe they're Latin words. I looked up the word tarde in Italian, just for example. It's the word tardo. So it's basically the same word. So dormita, which is in dormiri, Frere Jacques, dorme tu, but dorme vous. I think that's French. So the word dormir is definitely in the Latin languages. Shalzer anpin, he not of the love tardema v'yashin, because their anpin falls into sleep. It goes to sleep. But az hamochim shadol mistalki b'mena, then the mochim leave him. So that is the all spiritual aspect of the person, which is really, I think, to a certain extent, just saying it's the same concept of consciousness. So the person is conscious. V'oda nishmasa, what happens in Zer Anpin is nishmasa lamala goes up ad Abba Ve'ima until he reaches the place of Abba Ve'ima v'sham hu ma'alaman, and in that place he brings in Mayin Nukvin Be'ima Ilah into Ima Ilah v'gorim zivug elyon the Abba Ve'ima, and it causes that yichud. So this is what happens during the sleeping time, and so that yichud is going to have a lot to do with the shefa that's going to come. Ad heinen is bar tikkun echad hanaasach yedech dormita shegorim ma'ala b'shinasa. So this is the dormita that happens when we parallel that when we go to sleep. Shechamochin is their anpin yotzi b'menu. The mochin come out of their anpin v'nimshachim al chanuk. Why do they go out? They live in noise komaso in order to build her stature. V'hata mosiv arav the boyer tikkun noisif hanaasach yedech b'dormita. There's their anpin, which happens as a result of the dormita. There's something else. Bushan asas halos man is that actually it's doing something else besides bringing mochim into the nook. It's also being halos man. So we understand that the man is necessary for a yichud above it. Kuguvarn is bar in yonav DRUSHOT kodim. The Hinka more, as we said, like this, be'esa dormita. At that time, the Zer Anpin, when we talk about the dormita Zer Anpin, mistalkim b'menach hamochim, b'mochshadacha b'chinas ruchnias v'kiyuso. So we sort of heard that. The Gushem mistalkim b'menach be'esa dormita. So since they leave him then, Haim olin la'Abba Ve'ima, they go up to Abba Ve'ima, and he says, when is this? B'yamosa chol Hagavana is to Yisrael Sabbat Devuna, not Abba Ve'ima Eloin, and b'Shabbos Hagavana la'Abba Ve'ima Eloin. So a little parenthesis there. Besod man v'gormin zivug de Abba Ve'ima, and it causes a yichud to take place in Abba Ve'ima. Let's read on a little bit more on number Kaf Gimel. So number Kaf Gimel says v'ra yedech v'kein chosam laham shech mochin chadashim. So this yichud produces mochin chadashim. Kedei sheyuchol his daveg im nukva acher chatzos alayla, and this causes the yichud to take place at midnight. So now he writes Mezivug zecha de Abba Ve'ima, from this yichud which takes place in Abba Ve'ima, nimshachim mochin chadashim b'zer anpin, it causes mochin chadashim to come to zer anpin, v'kol eluch hamochim yochol hisdaveg im anuk b'zivug hanaasach acher chatzos alayla. So then he's going to have the energy is going to come from that, going to make it possible until to be there to have a yichud. Let's just go over to the previous page. And we'll go to number Kaf Aleph, just real something quick here. He said, "Be'inyan the dormita b'chatar dema shazer anpin." When we talk about them, Masha kosev aravda dormita b'chatar dema. He has both of these words. You don't need to say the both because dormita is tardema ba'aramis. Again, as I arguing with that, I think that it's not Aramis, unless it was picked up into Aramis, which could be possible. Number Kaf Bet goes on the phrase for Ola Nishmasal Lamala ad Abba Ve'ima B'Sham Ku Ma'alaman Be'ima Ilah V'Gorim Zivug Elyon de Abba Ve'ima. So I guess the idea there is it goes to Ima Yimon, and she turns to Abba, so to speak, and he comes to her, and they have a yichud. So don't really wonder about what's written here. What does he mean? The be'esa dormita kisher mistalkim b'mochem b'zer anpin heim olun l'man l'imari law, that is Yisrael Sabbat Devuna during the weekdays. Ve'elu the we're up above, we said in his boyer shebe'esa dormita ha'mochem yotzim b'zer anpin v'niknasim v'spashtem b'nok. And then what we have been saying up to this point is they go and they mishpashet into the nook. The Gavar Bi'arna La'el, Sheshnei Ha'anyanim Alalu Na'asim B'shtei B'chinus Mochim Shonos. That these two things, one going into the nook and one going up and creating man, is two different aspects, two different things. V'gam Bizmanim Chalukim, and they also take place at different times. The tzelem mochin the yasus. Now let's look at it like this: the tzelem of the mochin of yasus, they come into Zer Anpin. Behem chachmos v'chasadim, which is what? It's the right side of the mochin coming in, which is the chasadim b'das, and also the chachmos. Hayotzim is Zer Anpin that come out from Zer Anpin, Nishar al Gabe Rosh Zer Anpin. So once again, these are the male aspects of the mochin that are coming into Zer Anpin. V'alav Omer Rav Shahu Kan Sha'odol Leman. So the Rav says that over here we're talking about is that they're going up to Man. Ve'elach HaMochin the Devuna, but on the other hand, the Devuna, which he says he spells it out, V'heim Habinos V'hagavuros, Niknasim is Pashdim B'nuk, they go into the Nuk V'kol Inyan Na'asa B'chadrogo, goes in different levels, it says stages. The Dechilach HaYotzim Salme HaMochin the Yasos, so this is the first thing that happened. The Mochin that came from Yasos, Yasos V'Tevuna Mizer Anpin, first they go out from Zer Anpin, V'la'achar Mekan Niknasim is Pashdim HaMochin the Tevuna B'nuk, V'la'achar Mekan Na'asa Zivug the Bia Rishona, the Zer Anpin V'nuk. That's going to take place at the Chek of Abba V'Ima, their bosom, so to speak, V'la'achar Mekan Olot Salam HaMochin the Yasos L'man L'Abba V'Ima, and then after that takes place, and you have caused that yichud, he says then, let me just read this again, because I got a little confused. He says, L'achar Mekan Na'asa Zivug D'Bia Rishona. So that's the yichud that takes place at the Chek of Abba V'Ima, the Zav and Nuk, and they go up together in the Chek of Abba V'Ima. Then what, this is the part I wanted to hear again, it is L'achar Mekan, Olot Salam HaMochin, the Yasas, the Man, L'Abba V'Ima, and then after that, the mochin go up into of the male aspect, the yasos, go up into Abba V'Ima. Let's continue reading on a little bit. Where are we exactly? I think we would be on number Kaf Gimel, which is, yes, down at the bottom of the Hakavanot. We'll pick up number Kaf Gimel. So Gaf Gimel says, Chosra Lacham Shekalav Mochin Chadashim, and then Mochin Chadashim come out. Because, as a result of this yichud, Be'inyan the Mochin and Nimshachin the Zer Anpin B'chatas Alayla, Im Heim Mochin Chadashim, whether or not they're new Mochin, O Chazaras HaMochin Shenistalku V'Bene Be'esa Dormita, which sounds like, okay. Yesh B'Zecha D'Shonas Chaluka B'Divra Rav. So the Rav really describes this in different ways. For you in the Erev the Sof Drush base, what does he say? Is there Masha Kasavda B'Zeh, what we've written about that? Mina Babu comments explained over here. The Kodem Chatzos Alayla, Nimshachin the Zer Anpin Mochim before Chatzos. Let's say the Kodem Chatzos Alayla, Nimshachin the Zer Anpin Mochim. Mochim come into Zer Anpin. L'tzorach hazivu de bia rishona the chatzos, for the purpose of the first bia that we're going to do at chatzos. What are we talking about? Hakavanot the mochin de panim. We're talking about the mochin, the face mochin. Shemekabel sha'ola the chek Abba V'Ima, that he receives at the time of going up to the bosom of Abba V'Ima. Kavavur b'nahar shalom, he says. Behind it, the Av Shachadaim lo nimshkuch l'zon mochin deponim. So even though that nothing came into Zun from the mochin deponim, mikol makam kasha'olam the chek Abba V'Ima, but when they go up into the chek of Abba V'Ima, in other words, they have to go up to a place of safety where they can actually have a yichud panim deponim. Mikam l'ke'ez es hamochin deponim the sha tzorach l'zivug. So for that, there is already a certain amount of shefa that's coming from the mochin deponim for the purpose of that yichud that's going to take place there. Yeshu pirshu shuhu hamochin deponim shal Abba V'Ima atzman, and there are people who say that what they're actually receiving there is actually the the mochin deponim of Abba V'Ima themselves. Hanosnim as a mochin shadachem l'zun bechinas halvor, where they lend their mochin, because he's saying that at this stage, Zun does not have a proper mochin in order to be able to make a yichud, even if they're up at Abba Ve'ima, so they have to get that mochin from Abba Ve'ima themselves, Shalachem the Zun, Bebechinas Chalvor, like as a loan, L'tzorach HaZivud de Bia Rishona, for the purpose of the first Bia. Now let's go to the next one. We have one more to do here. And it says like this. He says, Atam shazer anpin bilvad olulaman. Why is it that zer anpin, and this goes back to something we saw earlier. Let's pick it up here. Why is it only that zer anpin goes up for the purpose of man? And this is number Kaf Dalet in the down below in the column. That both of them have to go up. The El Havana Bedrasha and Rosh Hashanah, the Bishas, and we're talking about Rosh Hashanah time, that the time the Bishas Dormita Mistalkim is there Anpin Kol Amochim Shalom. Whether we're talking about Yasas, which is those come from, let's say, we call it Abba, Bein Tevuna, or whether they come from the side called Tevuna, or Ima, or we call that Ima at that place. Ella Dachamochin, the Yasas, Nisha'arin La'amalo Gabin Rosh, their Anpin Bechinas Uras Bekifim, but he says that the Mochim race of Yasas race weight on top, as we've heard, as Mochim, like a Makif on top of the Rosh, their Anpin Bechinas Uras Bekifim. Baramochin the Devuna Niknazim al Tochanuk. Period. But here we're saying that a zer anpin is what goes up as ma, because those are the mochin the zer anpin, they go up laman. Heim rak mochin the yasas, there's the mochin that came from the male side, which is the abadika side, a shaykhem be'iger el zer anpin, which shines in its root into zer anpin. Aval the mochin the devuna shiyatzim is zer anpin v'niknas and the sochanuk, but the mochin, the female aspect of the mochin, the niknas and the tochanuk, they go into the nuk, they don't go up there as mayim nukvin. Heim einim olan the man. Let me get this over here. He says they don't go up into man. El and the sha'arim b'sochanuk, but they remain inside of the nuk. The chore yesh the haksha, so you have a room for a question here. Shaharecha b'noidish b'kol Elias man sark Elias man heim dezer anpin v'heim denuk. The hainu she'ya'ala l'man gam ha'mochim ha'machayim as the nuk, so you need those two she'heim ha'mochim de devuna. V'im came madua kan olim l'man rak ha'mochim de yasas. Why do we have only the mochim of yasas going up? She'heim ha'mochim de zav, which are the mochim of zer anpin. Lo ha-mochin to the funda shehem ha-mochin the nuk, and not those mochin, which are the mochin of the nuk. So there's a little bit more here. Let's read it. We have out of time, but we'll read this part here and we'll come back. Remember that before he says and then it's only for one of them to receive a tikkun. So this is a little bit complicated plot here. It says so therefore that's the object that what we want to achieve is to build up the nuk. So therefore, for the purpose of his partner, that is the opposite side, he goes up by himself. So he goes up by himself for that. So the Miyashiv Rav al pi hamavur la'er b'drasha kodem. So he's saying previously, and let me try to get through this little piece here. V'zel l'shana, and this is what he says. Sham b'kitzer v'hine yesh b'kam inyan echad. Who ki hinech the pamim ol zah levada leman, the pamim olim shneichem, that's zun leman. Shachaklal hu shel olom ein shum man ol l'tzorach atzma ela l'tzorach zulasa. So the success of actually creating a new mochi chadashim has to do. You have to have attention for the opposite side. Ki kasher zun srichen shneichem lekabel mochim az srichen shneichem la'alot b'sod man. zer anpen l'tzorach nukva v'nukva l'tzorach zer anpen. That's how it has to go. Amnam ka'asher mochim came l'tzorach nuk levado. It's only for her. As ola zer anpen goes up by himself levado b'sod man l'tzorach mochim shall nok ad gan l'shona. That's interesting because the mochim of female aspect already going into the nook to build her up, but at the same time you have to have this mana, sort of which comes first. So it's mashma that the going into the nook is taking place at the same time that the man is going up. The yesh chilach b'cholos haman ben lezivuga ben naasa the tzorach hamshachas mochen the zun shenechem the bad. Lebein hamochim v'anaasem rak the tzorach hamshachas hamochen the nok. The begadei laorach bezivuk the tzorach hamshachas hamochen the shneihem, because when you have to do this, hein the zav hein the nok the zera benitzrak shneichem yalaman. The raman the zera maorach bezivuk the tzorach hamshachas the nok. The raman the nok maorach zivuk the tzorach hamshachas the zav. Amnam. Kishema'alim man l'tzorach zivud to a shibud shehu rock l'tzorach hamshachas amochem al l'nok, and we already have at the same time, must be instantaneous. Then I'm thinking now that they're both at some point at the top of the head of their anpen, and then the male aspect goes up, causes a yichud, and that yichud sends down mochim, which allows for the strength. This is my interpretation. The strength of the shefa to come into the nook, and should you go down into the nook as sagi zer anpen. So in that case, it's enough for zer anpen ya'alaman. He should do it. So now we're settling this idea that kevin shel zivuk and naasa b'chatzos l'laylo hu l'tzorach tikkun anok la'asos lo kli, in order to make for her a kli v'l'hakina l'zivuk the holeda, which is going to take place in the chakras. Naasa be'ez to feel the chakra, the fichos sagi, so therefore it's sufficient here. Kanshi ala zer anpen levado laman. Okay, we'll stop there, and today is the 23rd. And we'll get what we can